You're walking down a busy street. A homeless person sits on the corner, cup extended. You glance at your phone. Keep walking. You didn't choose evil. You chose something far more dangerous. You chose nothing at all. We like to believe that humanity's greatest threat comes from monsters, serial killers, dictators, the obviously deranged. We sleep better thinking evil announces itself with theatrical cruelty and twisted grins. But here's what keeps philosophers awake at night. The most devastating atrocities in human history weren't committed by sadists. They were enabled by people who simply didn't care enough to stop them. Hannah Arendt called it the banality of evil, but I think she was being too kind. What she really discovered was something far more unsettling. Evil doesn't need to be banal, it just needs us to be indifferent. In 1961, a Yale psychologist named Stanley Milgram wanted to understand how ordinary Germans could participate in the Holocaust. What he discovered shattered our understanding of human nature. Milgram's subjects, everyday people, like your neighbors, your coworkers, maybe even you, were told to administer electric shocks to strangers. The shocks weren't real, but they didn't know that. They heard screaming, pleading, silence. 65% of them continued to the maximum voltage, not because they were evil, because they were told it was necessary, because someone in authority said it was okay, because it was easier than making a scene. The terrifying truth? Most of them weren't struggling with their conscience. They were struggling with their discomfort. They wanted the experiment to end, not because they cared about the victim, but because the situation was awkward. Think about that. 2/3 of ordinary people will torture a stranger to death to avoid social awkwardness. 6 years later, Philip Zimbardo created a mock prison at Stanford University. College students were randomly assigned to be guards or prisoners. The experiment was supposed to last 2 weeks. It lasted 6 days. The guards became cruel. The prisoners became broken. But here's what haunts me. The most disturbing participants weren't the sadistic guards. They were the ones who did nothing. The guards who were just following orders. The prisoners who watched their fellow inmates suffer and said nothing. The bystanders. You see, cruelty requires energy. Sadism requires passion. But indifference is effortless. It's the default setting of the human soul. We live in an age of infinite information and finite attention. Your phone buzzes with notifications about genocide, climate change, poverty, injustice. And what do? You swipe away the notification. You scroll past the article. You change the channel. This isn't evil. This is self-preservation. Your brain literally cannot process the suffering of 8 billion people, so it does what evolution taught it to do. It stops caring. The psychologists call it psychic numbing. The more people who suffer, the less we feel for each individual. 1 death is a tragedy. 1 million deaths is a statistic. Stalin said that. He understood the mathematics of indifference better than most. But here's what's truly terrifying. We've built systems that weaponize our indifference. Social media algorithms that feed us just enough outrage to feel informed, but not enough to feel responsible. News cycles that move so fast that yesterday's atrocity becomes today's forgotten footnote. We've created a world where caring about everything means caring about nothing. You've probably heard of the bystander effect. The more people who witness an emergency, the less likely anyone is to help. We assume someone else will act. Someone else will care. Someone else will take responsibility. But what if I told you there's something worse than the bystander effect? What if I told you that sometimes we're not even bystanders? Sometimes we're just absent. Consider this. Right now, as you listen to this, children are being trafficked, oceans are being poisoned, democracies are crumbling, and you're here, consuming content about human indifference. I'm not judging you. I'm one of you. I'm sitting in a comfortable room, talking into a microphone about suffering I've never experienced, creating entertainment from humanity's darkest truths. We're all complicit in the very indifference we're discussing. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote, "Hell is other people," but I think he was wrong. Hell isn't other people. Hell is other people who don't see you, who don't care that you exist, who would step over your body to catch their morning train. Sartre's contemporary, Emmanuel Levinas, understood this better. He argued that the face of another person, really seeing them, really acknowledging their humanity, creates an infinite responsibility. The moment you truly see another person's suffering, you become responsible for responding to it. So what do? We look away, we scroll past, we change the channel, we protect ourselves from the weight of infinite responsibility by choosing infinite indifference. But here's what Levinas knew, and what we're afraid to admit: the moment you choose not to see, you become something less than human yourself. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. When was the last time you saw someone in need and actually helped? Not shared their post, not clicked thoughts and prayers, actually helped. Can't remember? That's okay. Most of us can't. Now let me ask you something worse. When was the last time you saw someone in need and deliberately looked away? Crossed the street, pretended not to notice? You remember that one, don't you? This is the terrible arithmetic of modern life. We remember our moments of indifference more clearly than our moments of compassion, because deep down, we know which one is our natural state. The most chilling line in Arendt's Eichmann in Jerusalem isn't about the Holocaust. It's about the men who helped orchestrate it. She writes, "The trouble with lying and deceiving is that their efficiency depends entirely upon a clear notion of the truth that the liar and deceiver wishes to hide." But Eichmann wasn't lying. He genuinely believed he was just doing his job, just following orders, just being normal. And that's the point. Evil doesn't need to hide from us. It just needs to convince us it's normal. Every day, we participate in systems that cause suffering. We buy products made by exploited workers. We consume resources while others starve. We vote for politicians who promise to protect our comfort at the expense of others' lives. And we tell ourselves we're good people. Because we're not trying to cause harm. We're just living our lives. Here's the lie we tell ourselves. We're powerless. The problems are too big. The systems are too complex. We're just one person. What difference could we possibly make? But powerlessness is a luxury. It's the privilege of those who have enough power to choose not to use it. The truth is we're not powerless. We're just comfortable. And comfort is the enemy of conscience. Every time you choose convenience over compassion, you're exercising power. Every time you choose ignorance over awareness, you're making a choice. Every time you choose silence over speaking up, you're casting a vote for the status quo. The question isn't whether you have power. The question is whether you're brave enough to use it. There's a Jewish concept called bearing witness. It means to see clearly without looking away, without making excuses, without trying to fix or change anything, just to see. Most of us can't bear witness. The weight of truly seeing the world suffering would crush us. So we develop sophisticated mechanisms of denial. We tell ourselves the homeless person is probably a drug addict who chose their situation. We tell ourselves the refugees are probably economic migrants who aren't really in danger. We tell ourselves the workers in sweatshops are probably grateful for the jobs. We construct elaborate stories to protect ourselves from the simple truth. People are suffering, and we could help, but we choose not to. And here's the most terrifying thing of all. You're going to finish watching this video, maybe share it, maybe discuss it with friends. You'll feel a brief moment of moral awareness, a fleeting sense of your own complicity in the world's indifference. And then you'll go back to your life. You'll scroll through your phone, you'll buy your coffee, you'll complain about your problems, you'll pass by people who need help, and you'll look away. Not because you're evil, because you're human. And being human, in the end, might be the most terrifying thing of all. The monster isn't hiding under your bed, it's hiding in your mirror, and it's wearing your face. The question isn't whether you're capable of indifference. You are, we all are. The question is, what are you going to do about it?